Hello and welcome to WGBS TV Live, brought to you by SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. My name is Steve Eunice. In this, our March 5th, 2019 show, we're going to be covering a range of topics, including some of the things that Warner Brothers are saying about a possible Superman movie. We're going to be talking about the latest Supergirl episode, upcoming Supergirl episodes, the latest issue of Action Comics, and so much more. We'll also be turning to you to take your questions and comments on any particular Superman topic you would like to discuss, and to let you know how all that works and how you can get involved in tonight's show, let me introduce you to my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Steve. Now, since WGBS Live is all about Superman, of course I'm getting verklempt right here at the beginning. It's so emotional talking about Superman. We want to hear from Superman fans that are watching us live on YouTube, so around the halfway point mark of the show. And if we don't have too much going on with our discussion, we might be taking your calls. To do this, you'll need Skype, and to follow the very handy things that are right next to me. Get on Skype, find SupermanHomepage.com, and message us that you'd like to be on the show. Now, a couple important things about this. One, message us. Don't just call in, because one, we won't take the call, and two, it might screw things up. And two, if we do get you on, which we haven't been able to do recently, but if we do get you on, please turn off all your speakers and your whatnot that are playing sound, because there is a delay and it gets really annoying after a while.
Indeed. Well, also we'd like to thank our sponsor and patron, Douglas Meacham. Thank you for your support, and for those of you tuning in live via YouTube to watch tonight's show, we invite you to join in there, and in the comments you'll be able to ask questions and post comments, and Michael and I will keep an eye on those comments to react to them throughout the show, so get involved. Well, Mike, we've got a thunderstorm hitting here right as we speak. It's kind of looks like it might be going away at the moment, but hopefully the lights and everything stay on. But yeah, summer here is having its last hurrah with some tropical thunderstorms. But how's the week been for you guys over there?
Cold. We had some storms roll in ourselves. I was telling you this before we started tonight. In the area of Alabama and Georgia, nothing too bad from where I am, but there was a lot of people that had a lot of damage happen, and now it's cold again for a couple of days. But it's Georgia, and I have no doubt that very soon it will be too hot for anything. But, you know, whatever. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
I know the state I live in. I've lived out here over 20 years. I know how hot it gets.
Yeah,
so.
There you go. We are summer's finished here, but there's, like I said, a couple of very warm days, and now the thunderstorms are rolling in, so hopefully the power stays on throughout the show. Alright, well, let's go into the topics of discussion for tonight's show, and as we like to do with movie news to start with, Warner Brothers president Kevin Chizihara, well, I'll probably mispronounce his name, but something along those lines, he spoke with the Los Angeles Times and discussed the studio's strong year at the box office, the success of Aquaman, and where things are at with the slate of DC Universe films. Now, as far as Batman and Superman are concerned, he said obviously we want to get those two in the right place, and we want strong movies around Batman and Superman, but Aquaman is a perfect example of what we can do. They're each unique, and the tone's different in each movie. Well, it's about time they realise that the tones are supposed to be different in Superman movies compared to Batman movies.
Yeah, it's interesting that Marvel is so organized that I think sometimes we forget how much of a fluke that is, that they've been able to pull off what they've been able to pull off over the last, decade and a year, actually. I think Warner Brothers as a company, and this is just, me on the outside looking in, I have no sources inside Warner Brothers. God knows I don't have that. But it seems to me that they really learn all the wrong lessons from things that are successful. Because right after they did right after Dark Knight, for example, which came out in 2008, suddenly everything had to be that dark and grim or whatever. And I think that's why we got the Superman movie. That and the tepid response to Superman Returns is why we got the Superman movie that we got. And it's almost like when Wonder Woman and Aquaman work, they're like, well, how'd that happen? Well, it's because you had people producing a movie that people want to go and see and have fun with. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that the type of movies that we got with Batman v Superman and Man of Steel, and even Justice League to a certain extent, is not what some people would like. Obviously, those movies have their fans, and obviously that type of film has people that want to see that. But I think, when you get into the echo chamber of social media, it gets to the point where people are kind of like either arguing with people that disagree with them, or having people that completely agree with them. The people that actually go to these films just to have a good time aren't on social media arguing about them. The silent majority, as it were. So I think everything he said was very politically correct. We need strong movies. We need a strong Superman movie. Well, of course we need a strong Superman movie. Who is ever going to pitch like, what? I think what we need is a Superman movie that's really tame. We're just going to adapt like 3 episodes of the Adventures of Superman series with George Reeves. And no, that's not what they do. Not that there's anything wrong with that show, but it's like once that interview hit, it was across the blogosphere and the hype sites and all that. It was just like, here's the thing about the Superman film. I read it. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I thought he was going to say.
Yeah, well, it kind of, the hits went through the roof. Whenever someone's talking about a Superman movie or a Batman movie, and from an official capacity, everyone wants to listen in, but they usually give very politically, or political answers, as it were, like politicians, and don't say much. We say a lot without saying much at all. So there's really, yes, of course they want strong Batman and Superman movies, but that doesn't mean that there's anything planned at the moment. So don't hold your breath waiting for one. But yeah.
The one thing I think was proven here, though, is their attempt to jumpstart a universe the way they did was the exact wrong way to do it.
Yeah, because Man of Steel was a strong movie, but try to bring in other characters straight away without having to introduce them on their own, I think was the wrong approach.
Yeah, if they would have done, a Superman film, and then maybe a Batman film, and then Wonder Woman, and then Aquaman, and then through those films have a through line, and then finally do a Justice League, I think Justice League would have done a lot better. And every time I see the first Avengers film, I'm just reminded of, not that I'm saying they need to copy that, like note for note, but every time I watch it, I'm like, man, they just hit every beat correctly here. This is exactly how you wanted to do it, and this is exactly why Justice League did not do as well as it could have.
Yeah, well, you didn't have to waste all that time introducing characters. You could go into the story. So... and that obviously was a failure with Justice League. And speaking of Justice League, Clay Enos, the official photographer for the Justice League movie, who has worked alongside Zack Snyder on many of his films, spoke on the Faruqi Brothers podcast recently, where he discussed the whole idea about a possible Snyder cut of Justice League, and he's quoted as saying, "Just the logistics of that are really difficult. What is it? Is it a different theatrical release? What does that mean for royalty checks for the 200 actors that participated in it? Is it just it is just a complete mess on so many fronts." So it's not just as easy as going, here's the material if it's been shot, do the special effects and bring it together. It's like, what is it? Where does it go? How does it happen? Who gets paid? All these kinds of things are things that the fans don't really think about when they're demanding a Snyder cut.
Yeah, that everything he said was basically everything I'd been thinking anyways. That the idea, I'm gonna get a sentence out at some point tonight, I promise. I think the problem is that you have one, Snyder himself kind of stirring the pot on social media by releasing pictures and behind the scenes snippets and stuff like that. And then you have other people who worked on the film that are like, oh, there was a cut, but again, what kind of cut was that? Was it just a literal production cut with no special effects and just the actors, and from that you can kind of get an idea of what the movie is going to be like, and just like a lot of animatics to kind of move the thing along? Or is it a full-blown cut? And I think from what this gentleman said, getting a Snyder cut is not as easy as doing the extended cut of Batman v Superman, because one, Batman v Superman did well financially, and two, all of that stuff was already done. They just cut it out. So putting it back in and then making some more money off of a Blu-ray release was probably financially viable for them. I don't think it's financially viable for this Justice League film.
Exactly. There are so many things that haven't been finalized or finished, with special effects, with all the different things they have to do. So it's not, as you said, it's not just like it's on the cutting room floor and they can just put it back in. It'd have to actually be produced and put together with a lot more work than, say, an extended cut or what have you that's already been there in some fashion or form. So yeah, don't hold your breath again for this one either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright, so if you want to listen to that whole podcast of his interview, you can find that on our website. You'll find that back on March 3rd. But speaking of Zack Snyder, he announced a special 3-day event called The Director's Cuts, featuring special screenings of 3 of his movies. But no, not Justice League. We just said it's not out there. What they are is Dawn of the Dead, Watchmen, and Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition. This will take place across March 22nd, March 23rd, and March 24th in Pasadena, California. So if you want information and tickets on that, go to artcenter.edu. There's a pretty interesting graphic that they released with this. Was kind of a mashup of those 3 films. You've got Dawn of the Dead with the zombie element there. You've got the Watchmen thing with half of the head and the symbol there, and then you've got Batman and Superman's elements to that poster as well. So an interesting graphic.
Yeah, it was really funny that a lot of the sites that promoted this thing or talked about it really left off that Justice League wasn't going to be part of it, just to get people to kind of click on the headline. And it's just like, Zack Snyder has a bunch of director's cuts of films he already did director's cuts of. I mean, this isn't like a surprise in any way, shape, form, or fashion, really. Yeah,
but the thing is with these is that Zack Snyder will be in attendance for special panel discussions after the screenings of each film, as will special guests from the individual film's cast and crew. So there'll be questions about that, and I imagine somebody along the line there in one of those days will actually ask about Justice League, and we may hear some quotes coming out of that as well. So be prepared.
Oh God,
be prepared.
What is he gonna say? Seriously, what is he gonna say?
It could be anything, knowing Zack Snyder.
I mean, it's just like, is this where he just lets all the vitriol he feels towards Warner Brothers? And I'm not saying that Warner Brothers handled things well. I don't think that. I honestly don't. I almost, there is a part of me, and I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but there is a part of me that wishes they would have just let it go with him as the director. Because one, we wouldn't have people complaining about it still, and two, the film could have lived or died on what he did. I honestly think at this point, with some distance between the movie coming out and now, that all of the negative hype around the film and the changing with the CGI on Henry's mouth and all that just didn't work the way they wanted it to, and maybe letting it go under his vision. I'm not saying we would have gotten a better film, but at least we would have gotten a complete project.
Yeah, and to clarify some of the comments that are being posted as we talk, Zack Snyder wasn't fired. He stood down himself because of the death of his daughter, and then Joss Whedon was brought in at Zack Snyder's request, brought in to finish the film. But obviously there was a lot that went on that Zack probably wasn't happy with as far as the final product was concerned, and I think he's pretty outspoken about that on social media. But it is what it is. It was a sad way that it all turned out for everybody. He was very much he stood down himself, and didn't come back to complete it, which we don't know what it would have been like had he done that.
Yeah, I honestly think that the Donner cut of Superman 2 has given people a false sense of how you can do these things.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is a similar situation to that, not like an A to A equal thing, but it could be that he stepped down willingly, but there was a lot of pressure to do so. So, but we don't know all the back deal machinations, and frankly, it's none of our business. So,
and there's a massive difference.
Even be talking about it.
Well, the massive difference, I guess, between Superman 2 and Justice League is that Donner had pretty much shot the whole film, but they had to reshoot it because to have Richard Lester recognized as the director, he needed to shoot over 50% of the film. So they went back and reshot a lot of it. So that material was there, where with Justice League, Zack Snyder didn't get to finish or complete the stuff that he had intended. So it's not there just to be inserted back in.
Mm-hmm.
Although there are a lot of deleted scenes that we know of, obviously from trailers and things, but it's not a cohesive storyline that's there as far as especially the special effects kind of thing. Let's face it, probably 40% of a film like Justice League is done in computer these days.
Yeah, I mean, all of those backgrounds, all of the, even on things that you might not think are CGI, are CGI.
Exactly. All right, well, let's move on and look at animated movies and movies that are happening, and that is Justice League versus the Fatal Five. Now, this past week, or week and a bit, we learnt of some variations that are out there that will be out there from places like Walmart and Best Buy, Target. They've all got different, especially Target and Best Buy have got different versions that are out there. And let's have a look at some of those right now. We've got from Best Buy, they've got a exclusive version that has not only a 4K edition of the animated movie, but also comes with a Starboy action figure. So that's only at Best Buy, and that's pretty cool. Not only get the 4K version, but you also get the action figure. And then with Target, you get the Steelbook case, which is only available at Target stores there in the US, but it has the standard Blu-ray edition of the animated movie, which comes out, when does it come out? It was released next month, I think it is. I haven't got the date there, but
yeah, I believe it is next month.
So would you be interested in either of these?
I don't know. I don't think I'd get the 4K release at all, just because I don't have a 4K television and I don't have a 4K player. The Steelbook from Target would be kind of nice. That's what I got with the Reign of the Supermen. That's where I ultimately ended up going. So I think I think I'd probably go with that. Little action figures. In all honesty, I am so picky about the figures that I get now that I don't need a Starboy tchotchke kind of, just taking up space or sitting in a drawer someplace.
Yeah, just as far as the release dates, March 30th is the digital release of the film, and then April 16th is the actual Blu-ray release, so you can get that mid next month.
Yep.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So looking forward to that, especially with the animated character designs being of the Justice League Unlimited, with the cast as well. So looking forward to this one when it comes out mid next month. All right. Well, as far as other movie news is concerned, you might recall back in the 90s, Brendan Fraser was one of the names that was being tossed up as a possible actor to play Superman. He'd just come off the George of the Jungle popularity and was in shape, and everyone was maybe considering him. And he did audition for the role. He told sci-fi.com, he said it was cool, pretty cool indeed. He said, I didn't get the job, it went away. Brett Ratner was a bit woohoo in those days, and that's well documented. And that was a script by J.J. Abrams, but it never got made. He said it was freaking Shakespeare in space. It was so cool. It was worlds colliding, and it was really, really cool. But I hear he's done well since then, and he laughs.
Yeah, I guess I remember those rumors of him being up for the role back around that time period. I actually was seeing on Twitter the other day some people talking about, maybe J.J. Abrams should take over the Superman films now. And I'm like, y'all, did you read that script? Because there was some weird stuff in there. and it's not... Obviously, he would do a different film now because he's a different creator now than he was in the early 2000s. But everything... There were so many wrong things in that script. Krypton not being destroyed, there being this whole civil war going on, and Superman at the end of the first movie flying back to fight, flying back to Naboo so he and Qui-Gon Jinn can end up helping the Federation, get out of just this whole
was that
thing.
The one where Lex was Krypton, ended up being revealed as Kryptonian?
He was either CIA, and then later in the drafts he was secretly Kryptonian, and there was Ty-Zor, and the suit gave him the powers or something like that, and Martha was being her landlord was trying to assault her, so young Clark hits him with his heat vision. It was just like, wow, everything about that sounds terrible. So it could have been Shakespeare in space. Not everything Shakespeare did was good.
Now, why is Brendan Fraser now being asked about this? Well, he's part of the DC universe now. He's on Doom Patrol. You probably wouldn't know it because you don't really get to see him.
He is on Doom Patrol with fellow Superman, Matthew Bomber, who plays Negative Man. And thanks to the Superman homepage, because every once in a while I poke around just to see if anything new has been added, and this is probably something that's been on the site for years and I never noticed. Matthew Bomber was up for the role in Superman Returns, did not get it. Eventually did the voice of Superman in Superman Unbound, but he did sort of play the character in these Japanese commercials.
Yeah, car commercials.
And I was just like, wow, he actually, looking at that, if they would have beefed him up a little more, he would have totally been a good Superman and Clark Kent.
Yeah, so Brendan Fraser plays, is it Robot Man?
Yeah, he is the voice of Robot Man and the human body of Cliff Steele.
Yeah. So that's in the Doom Patrol series. That's currently part of the DC Universe digital streaming service. And it's exclusive there. So, and by all accounts, it's pretty good. It seems to be really enjoying it. I'm up to episode 8 of Titans with only 2 more to go. And that's been pretty good. So I think I might check out Doom Patrol because those characters do appear briefly in Titans in early episodes.
Yeah, the weird thing about Doom Patrol is filmed an hour away from where I am. It's kind of weird knowing that there's so much that now there's DC stuff close to me instead of all the Marvel stuff. But I kind of want to check it out. The trailer for it hit me better than the Titans trailer did. So I just have to get the app, and I'm just lazy and don't really want to spend the money yet.
Fair enough. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. We're almost at the halfway point of tonight's hour, so play a few messages. Then on the flip side, we'll come back and talk about the latest Supergirl episode, get Michael's thoughts on his review and upcoming episodes as well, including, finally, a description for the John Cryer episode where he plays Lex Luthor. So we'll be back right after these messages.
First, never touch any appliance without a parent's supervision, and always be careful with kitchen appliances. Keep their cords out of your way and your fingers out of their way. Also, always turn pot handles in, away from the edge of the stove.
So nobody bumps into them and gets hurt.
Now you're cooking.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Bomer. I'm the voice of Superman and Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
We're back on WGBS TV Live, and there was Matt Bomer right there in that commercial, giving a shout out to the Superman homepage. Weird how these things happen.
It's almost like we planned that.
Almost. Alright, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about Supergirl now, and the latest episode of Supergirl aired on Sunday night there in the US and Monday night here in Australia, and it was titled What's So Funny About Truth, Justice in the American Way. And as you would expect, it featured the Elite versus Supergirl and her friends. The Elite consisted of Manchester Black, Hat, Menagerie, and one other creature that has the ability to be invisible. And it was entertaining in many ways. There was some great fight sequences. The special effects were rather good, and you know, some of the character interactions I quite enjoyed. But you had an issue with the fact of the title of the episode.
Why? I mean, it literally, outside of having the Elite, it had nothing in common with that. At least with when they did the adaptation of For the Man Who Has Everything, there was a dream sequence, and her being on Krypton as if it never exploded. This, one of the things I said in my review, and I still feel kind of strongly about this, is that What's So Funny About Truth, Justice in the American Way is the name of the episode where everything of this is resolved. This should have been the title of their season finale, where everyone is brought down finally, and Supergirl's way is kind of shown as the right one. Having said that, and really being kind of disappointed that they tried to trade on the name, really to no reason or rhyme, it was a good episode. Things are tying together more. I really liked seeing Alex and Supergirl not have drama.
Yes. And
working together, even though she doesn't know who she is. It felt, okay, like this is getting, you know, on the right side. Everybody got to do something in this episode. Like everybody, and not only do something, but do something significant. You know, Lena's now at the DEO. Colonel Haley wasn't aware of this satellite. So now, once again, I gotta say, they're playing really good with Colonel Haley of flipping her back and forth of, you don't like her, maybe she'll be on our side, no, she's definitely not somebody we want to work with, to her obviously having a problem with what was going on. So I think in terms of all of the different plot elements kind of being drawn, you know, tightly, you know, drawn tighter together, the episode did a really good job with that. And I gotta say, the beef between Brainy and Kellex was hilarious. I loved the nattering.
I wonder if they'll explain what their problem is.
I hope so at some point, but man, I mean, just not only was Brainy throwing shade towards Kellex, like, with Brainy not being there, was just, you know, talking smack about him. So that was a lot of fun.
It was.
And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this episode more than the previous two.
Also, again, Ben Lockwood you know, just that character just keeps winning me over as far as how much you dislike him and how much you just think, wow, this guy couldn't get any. You know, one minute you feel like he's softening and he's becoming the, you know, the suit, and then next minute he's smashing a guy with the mask and beating the crap out of him, and it's like, wow, full on. And he's just doing such a good job, Sam Witwer, of playing that character.
I agree with you completely. Sam Witwer is the MVP of this season. Nothing against Nia Nall. I think she's great. But Sam Witwer is the one that I just keep going. He just layers that performance. I'm also 90% sure that the guy that he beat to death at the end and the guy that confronted him in the bar was the guy that played the person who tried to assault Lana in the second season episode of Smallville, Precipice.
Oh, okay.
And Clark threw him into the police car. Pretty sure that was that actor, which makes sense because everything's filmed in Vancouver. But I've seen him in other things since then, and it looked like that guy. I couldn't find it out on IMDb because IMDb is really stingy with the performers the night the episode comes out.
Okay, so yeah, interesting there. It all comes back to Superman or Smallville, depending on what your angle is. But it's an interesting kind of, whether it's stunt casting or whether it's just somebody that they happen to choose and he's just happened to be there before. I don't think many people would have recognized him from Smallville, but there you go. So yeah, all in all, a pretty good episode, and I enjoyed, you know, like I said, the special effects, especially the hats disappearing act, where, you know, like this red mist or whatever, and people would just get sucked out of that location. That's pretty well done. And you know, all in all, the fighting choreography was pretty well done as well. So I thought it was a pretty good episode, other than the fact, like you said, the name of the episode really just didn't have anything to do with anything other than the fact that Manchester Black, the Hat, and Menagerie were in it. And that line of "I've got my super friends," even though we saw it in the trailer, did come across as a bit hokey and was just like, oh, eye rolls.
Yeah, that was the part of it where I wasn't on board, because when she met with them at the pub in Manchester, because of course, I was just like, okay, this is an interesting scene. I kind of like seeing that dynamic, but yeah, it was really hokey. I liked John's arc in this,
yes,
where, you know, he really, I was really kind of glad to see him smacking Manchester around, actually.
Well, that was interesting because that was played as if Manchester had won somehow because he got John to stop being a peaceful guy, but it was like, I didn't feel like he'd done anything wrong by smacking him down. It was just like, yeah, you know, about time kind of thing. It didn't feel like, oh no, he went there.
Yeah, I'm kind of tired of John 90% of the time getting smacked around. I mean, it was at the beginning of this episode he got electrocuted by the Hat. But him I think maybe his storyline might do for a little more development. But yeah, it was like, because he fought back and did things like he couldn't convince Manchester to give up on his own, and he had to resort to physical violence. Somehow he lost the moral high ground, and I'm like, no, Manchester's damaged. You're not going to be able to save him. He's a lost cause.
Exactly. So that was episode 13 of season 4 of Supergirl. Now we look forward to this coming Sunday's episode, which is titled Stand and Deliver, and we have the promo video for that right now.
There is a civil war brewing. Pro-alien march has been organized.
Today, we take our planet back!
This whole event could turn into a powder keg.
Oh no.
Find the nearest alien hater and kill them!
Supergirl, all new episodes Sunday at 8/7 Central on the CW.
So there you have it. That was the promo for Stand and Deliver, which sees this anti-alien movement and the elite clash, and Supergirl kind of stuck in the middle, not realizing or not knowing what action to take. Also, this episode we have James picking up the camera again to cover the march for Catco, and Colonel Haley assigns Alex a job that clashes with her beliefs. So there's a lot of different things happening in this particular episode, with the Elite and Ben Lockwood stirring up trouble at the rally. So there you go, interesting episode coming up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next couple, just to see if they can kind of keep up the quality of this past episode.
Brad asking, is Supergirl wearing a onesie? It looked like one of those robes from Krypton, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Maybe she is wearing like. Maybe she's wearing a steggy.
There's a civil war brewing.
Those blanket. Basically, it's a robe, but inside out, where you wear the back on the front and the back.
Yeah, there it is. There.
Maybe, I've been debating whether or not I should do this. Maybe next winter I'll actually, for an episode, wear the Superman snuggie that I have. For an episode, then everyone will demand that I never do that again. So,
well, you can only try.
I was a little disappointed that we got the Iron Man armor back for this episode. I just don't like the heads-up display thing that they do for that.
It is an interesting look. Alright, well, we do have a description for the episode after that, which is episode 15 of Season 4, and it is titled, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And this will air on March 17th. Yes, they're going with all the sayings and the cliches. In this one, secretly furloughed from prison due to failing health, Lex Luthor visits his sister Lena to seek her help finding a cure. Savvy as ever, Lena is suspicious of Lex's motives, but when she's faced with a life and death situation, she must decide how she truly feels about her brother. Meanwhile, Supergirl and John face off against Manchester Black, and James's sister Kelly comes to town. Yes, James Olsen has a sister.
My wife just brought this into the room.
There you go.
It's not happening this week.
Yeah.
This thing is cold.
Next week.
Maybe. It'd probably be too warm next week with how Georgia weather goes. No, I'm really looking forward to Lex Luthor coming on the show. I think John Cryer is going to surprise everybody. I honestly think he is going to play it like sympathetically, but then at some point he's going to snap, turn, and he's going to be Lex Luthor. Either that, or he's just going to sit there and force Jolly Ranchers into Lena's mouth. Because apparently that's an option with Lex now.
Oh my god. So, that's coming up on March 17th with John Cryer guest starring as Lex Luthor, and it'll be interesting to see what his take on the character is. And also, Azzy Tesfaye, I think her name is, coming in as Kelly Olsen, James' sister, in that episode as well. So a lot to look forward to in that particular episode, coming out in a couple of weeks' time.
That's a creepy looking John Cryer in that image.
It is indeed.
Really is.
Alright, so in other TV news, as far as the DC Universe's digital streaming service is concerned, they've announced that the actor known as Joshua Orpin, who's an Australian actor I just found out, has been cast in the role of Superboy for Season 2 of Titans. And the description for that, I'll just show you the image of him right now. The description, it says here, the official character description for Connor Kent says, he is an angsty teenager of Steel, searching for purpose and the truth about his past. While looking for answers, he crashes into the world of the Titans, where he finds an unlikely home and surrogate family, as well as revelations that carry more complications than he ever bargained for.
He's going to find he's part Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
I'm willing to put money on that.
No doubt.
I found out something last week, is that if you express an opinion about this sort of thing, people will argue with you. I know this is a surprise.
Yeah. Not on the internet, surely.
I don't want to watch the Titans at this point because people keep telling me that I should watch it and somehow it will change my mind, and I don't want to be in that position. I'm gonna fall back on what I said a couple weeks ago when the whole thing of the image of Crypto and Superboy on the season finale of the first season of Titans. It's like, hold, guys, because yeah, he may come out and be the Connor you like a season or two down the road, but with how everybody in this show seems to be more violent and just angsty, I just don't know if it's gonna be. I just don't want people getting too excited, I guess is what I'm saying, because I don't want them being disappointed.
Yeah, be prepared for lots of violence and lots of angst, which is definitely a something that the Titans show does lots of with every character. There's lots of angst and lots of violence, especially episode 1 of Titans was very bloodthirsty, but kind of lessened as the season went on. But I'm sure with the first, we've already seen with the Superboy thing there that there's a lot of death and destruction. So expect that to kind of continue a bit with his arc as he kind of finds himself, I guess.
Yeah, as Brad said in the comments, the angry red eyes of anger are probably going to flare, and he's going to break somebody's bone or whatever. It's just, maybe it'll be good. I shouldn't be negative. I should try to see the good in this. I just don't see any good in this.
Well, you might see some good in this. The actor, as I said, Joshua Alpen, posted on his Instagram account giving a bit of a tribute to the 1990s Superboy with this image of himself doing the whole thumb over the back, pointing at his very makeshift S that he put on the back of his shirt there with some duct tape. But it is a tribute to this image from the comic books, the cover of Adventures of Superman number 501 from 1993.
Yeah, I saw this and I was like, well, good. I mean, it's a good little thing to put out there. It gets the fans talking, gets people excited. I'm telling you though, if they put him in the spandex and the leather jacket and the shades, and that's his costume for Titans, I'll subscribe right away and watch the entire series. I don't think that's going to happen though.
Probably not, but it's nice to see that he's a comic book fan, understands what would get attention from the fandom, and went to the trouble of posting that. And garnered something like 7,000, 8,000 likes already on Instagram. So amongst his own fans, he's getting attention, and then bringing attention to the show. And I'm guessing the fact that he's been cast in this show will bring a lot of fans new to him and following him. If you're interested in what else he's done, Murdoch Mysteries was one, and something else. I'd never heard of him before, even being an Australian. So good luck to him scoring this role.
Yeah, I wonder how good his American accent will be. Though it would be kind of ironic that he's Australian and part Lex Luthor, given that Lex Luthor was Australian when the whole death of Superman happened. So
yes, indeed,
Australian.
Lex Luthor and his connection with Australia. Across a couple of mediums now. All right, let's push on to the comic book side of the world of Superman. And Action Comics 1008 was released this past week on February 27th, indeed. And it was Leviathan Rises Part 2, and it saw Jimmy Olsen there front and center of the cover. Our reviewer, Mario Benisi, wasn't very much in love with this issue. He gave it a 3 out of 5, saying, I think, having an issue like many did with Lois's she almost revealed to her husband Clark that she'd outed him to her father, but got interrupted and wasn't able to do that. So it's still not clear whether or not Clark knows about it or knew that she was going to do it, but she just hasn't got around to telling him that she has done it, or whether she's revealing it to him for the first time, and what his reaction might be remains to be seen. But it's still kind of up in the air, that whole thing.
Yeah, despite that, I really enjoyed this issue. I am digging this story. It's really what Bendis is able to do with characters like Sam Lane and Amanda Waller, and do that kind of, like government intrigue type of thing, spy thriller, pacing, and just how he's setting everything up with Leviathan and this, all these organizations getting taken out. I rated a little higher than 3 out of 5. I totally bought into it. I thought it was really enjoyable. I loved the scene where Lois and Clark were sitting on the floor with Jimmy, just talking to him because he was freaked out. It was just utterly charming. Like, doing that, I mean, we haven't really seen that sort of thing. For the longest time, Jimmy was Clark's buddy. They hung out together and did stuff, and they were kind of more equals than Clark being, older than him, and having this dynamic back, and having him, Jimmy be more of a character. I really liked this issue. And
the whole thing about Sam Lane knowing now, we don't know whether or not that's going to be an issue, because it appears that Waller shoots him in this particular issue, so we don't know if he's still alive or not. I imagine he still is. And then she reveals that she knows Clark Kent's secret herself.
Her knowing Clark's secret isn't a huge deal. It's a play on, or similar to, not a play on, but it's similar to Waller knowing that Bruce Wayne was Batman on Justice League Unlimited. She works for a government agency. During the early part of Lex's presidency, there was a scene where he threatened Batman, listing all of the government agencies that he has access to, and that he can figure out Superman's identity. Amanda Waller's probably known Clark Kent Superman for years. Now that information is actually useful to her, whereas before it wasn't.
Yeah. So that was issue 1008 of Action Comics. Well worth a read, and check it out if you're a comic book reader, which we're hoping you are, because Bendis is doing some really interesting things with both Title Superman and Action Comics.
And how Superman #8, I finally got to read that last week.
Yeah.
And wow, what a turnaround that issue was for the series, because for the longest time, it was fun, but it was just basically Superman and Rogol Zaar kind of throwing down, but having that whole thing with John, realizing that his grandfather's crazy, and watching the kind of the depth, the nuance Bendis brought to Jor-El. Both of these books are so good right now, and we are so lucky that we're rolling into now year 3 of Superman books being consistently good.
And if you aren't if you're not reading the books and you are interested in doing so, Superman Volume 1, The Unity Saga, Phantom Earth, is available now, I believe, or tomorrow, depending on where you are. Just grabbing the cover for that right now. It collects issues number 1 to 6 of the Superman title, and is the first story that Bendis and Ivan Reis have done together for this run of the Superman comic books. It comes out March 5th, so available today, or March 6th actually, as far as DC Comics is concerned. It wasn't solicited as such, but they sent out a special announcement, and we posted a news item about this, and there is the cover for it there. It's the hardcover, collecting issues 1 to 6 of Superman, as I said.
Yeah, I like the cover to that too, just the kind of the focusing more on issue 1 and having the Superman text inside the S symbol. or the S Shield, which I said S Shield earlier tonight when when my wife and I were having dinner with my father, and he's like, Superman has a shield now? I'm like, no, that's just kind of what we call the symbol. He's like, oh, because Superman with a shield would be weird. And I was just like, you're not wrong there, Dad.
Well, was it Super Soldier had that when they merged the amalgam?
And Superboy.
Yes.
Superboy had the shield there for about 5 seconds.
There you have it. So, looking at the comic books available this week for Superman fans, and there are a number of them. Let's go through them one by one. We have Adventures of the Super Sons number 8 is out this week, and that is 8 of 12. So that's out this week from Tomasi. We've also got Doomsday Clock number 9 finally out. It's been a while since we've seen an issue of this comic book, and that is the variant cover there. So if you're reading that book still, that is out this week. Justice League number 19 is out this week, and I had a personal message from Scott Snyder about this, saying, he's really looking forward to our review of this particular issue because it's very much Superman centered, with Mr. Mxyzptlk being involved in this new story arc, and that is the variant cover there, which I don't like, by Liefeld. I don't know why everybody has to be wearing this dark eye makeup in the drawings that he does.
Oh, they've been listening to Morrissey a lot recently, and the Smiths, and being very emo. Yeah, no pressure to the reviewer for Justice League. Scott Snyder's just going to be paying attention.
Well, I can tell you now, because he's already submitted it, that he absolutely loved this issue. So, and that was before he heard that Snyder was keen on seeing how we review it. Also available this week is Young Justice number 3, with that cover that we've seen before, and it's also available in this variant cover, very psychedelic. And JLA New World Order trade paperback essential edition. Don't know how essential it is, but that is also out this week as well.
Why don't they just call it trying to squeeze a little bit more money out of this edition?
Pretty much what it is.
I just think that would be better. Yeah, that Liefeld cover is bad. It's just not good at all.
So they're the books that are out this week. Looking forward to actually pretty much all of those. Young Justice is just still growing on me, but Justice League has been fantastic. Doomsday Clock is an interesting read, even though it's like 3 months between issues. And Adventures of Super Sons is always a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And that JLA story, which kicked off the Morrison run, was worth it. So putting it back into print isn't the worst thing that DC can do at this point.
Also, this month, we being early in March, we renewed or updated the Super Trivia Quiz for another month, and we won't give you the answers, but I will read out the questions that are being asked of you this month, and they're all kryptonite related. The first one is, what substance can protect Superman from the effects of kryptonite? It's pretty straightforward. Question number 2 is, what color kryptonite caused Clark Kent to lose his inhibitions in the TV series Smallville? Again, not too difficult. And maybe the more tricky question, in which medium was kryptonite first introduced? So they're the 3 questions for this month's Super Trivia Quiz. If you want to get involved, head to the Superman homepage, look under the favorites menu, and you'll find the Super Trivia Quiz. So get involved if you think you know all the 3 answers to those questions, and we will put out the names of everyone who got them right in the beginning of April. So looking forward to seeing, and the answers are flowing in already, and a lot of people are guessing them right, so not too difficult this month.
Yeah, that's a pretty good, that's a good group of questions. That third one is probably the one that the main one that people stumble on.
Yeah.
So
there you have it. Are you prepared for This Week in History, Michael?
Absolutely I am.
Alright, let me play your intro for you right now.
Come with me now, my son, as we break through the bars of your earthly confinement, traveling through time and space.
Alrighty, we can actually go back to 1939 on this one. This month in the early part of March in 1939, Action Comics number 11 was put out.
Oh, wow.
Dealing with a ship of some sort on it. In 1949, Superman number 58, which has Superman. It's a really weird cover of Superman holding like a short little red-headed guy. Who's apparently named Tiny Tricks. We will find out, I guess, at some point in the story if tricks are for kids. In 1959, World's Finest number 101 came out with the Menace of the Atom Master. Really cool cover of Superman flying towards Batman and Robin as they are being menaced by some sort of spaceship. 1969, Superboy number 158, 2 fantastic book-length novels of the Two Worlds of Superboy and Superboy's Farewell to Smallville. They always got a lot of mileage out of that concept. In 1979, DC Comics Presents number 10 came out, which had Superman teaming up with Sergeant Rock, who was a World War II character. Nothing in 1989. 1999 was a busy, the first week of 1999 was a busy week for Superman. Superman Adventures number 31 came out, which was the tie-in book. Superman Secret Files number 2 and Superman the Man of Steel number 88. That was all about, or is that 98? No, that's 88, I'm right. Which was tying into the Dominus storyline that was going on. In 2009, just 10 short years ago, Action Comics number 875 came out this week. That was this was during the new Krypton storyline, where Nightwing and Flamebird, or the new versions of those characters, were kind of the stars of the book for that time period. And in the real world, Tim Daly, voice of Superman and Superman the Animated Series, was born in New York, New York on March 1st, 1956. 10 years later, 1966, in Green Bay, Wisconsin, Zack Snyder was born. Jensen Ackles was born in Dallas, Texas in Jensen Ackles is 2 years younger than me? I have done nothing with my life. And as it's Saturday, March 9th, artist Rick Burchett, Superman Adventures and Other Things, was born in 1952.
There you have it. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of tonight's program. Before we do sign off, I'd like to thank everyone for watching tonight's episode of WGBS TV Live, and thank all those in the comments section there on YouTube who participated in the show. And a big thank you to you, my co-host Michael Bailey. Thanks, Mike.
Pleasure as always, Steve.
And a huge thank you to our sponsor and patron, Douglas Meacham. And remember, if you want to sponsor the Superman homepage, then please head to patreon.com/Superman homepage. Now, the complete 1-hour video of tonight's show will remain available on the Superman homepage website and our YouTube channel if you'd like to watch it back, or perhaps you missed part of the show. But we'll be back next week on Tuesday, March 12th at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for another edition of WGBS TV Live. Look forward to talking with you then. Until then, be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice on behalf of myself and Michael Bailey. Thanks for watching WGBS TV Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.